Today on the Tackle HD podcast, we've got your early June fishing reports for Lake of the Ozarks, Truman Lake, and Tablerock. Plus, professional angler and fishing phenom Trey Swindle joins the show, and we're going to talk all about his family's legacy in the fishing industry and what it's like for a guy his age to be chasing largemouth bass for a living. It's going to be a good one, guys. Make sure you click like and subscribe to the channel. It's the Tackle HD podcast, kicking things off today with Jack Uxa and the latest from Lake of the Ozarks.
Hey everybody, this is Jack Uxa with your Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. Basically, since last time I talked to you, fishing's gotten a whole lot better. We've still had a lot of storms. The water temperature right now is in the low 70s, 68 to 72, somewhere around that range, depending on the day. Today's another cooler day. We've been having a lot of rain, so it's low 70s to upper 60s. Fish are actually spawning right now. They've been trying to spawn for the last several weeks, but there's been a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes they get a little spawn in here and it kind of tapers off, and then but they're still trying to spawn, which is a big deal. Bite's been good though, is the main thing. It's been a struggle for most of the spring. I blame it on the weather for the most part. But things have stabilized. The water temperature is good now. We're not having those drastic cold fronts. We're still having some cooler days, but it's not so bad. And the water level has really been stable too, which is very helpful to help the fish to remain in the shallow water. So with that being said, the soft plastic bite has gotten a lot better. This is a shaky head worm. This is an 8-inch fiddle. This is an 8-inch needle worm. It's just a generic soft plastic worm. Hopefully you guys can see it here. This is watermelon candy on a little 1/8 ounce head. That's a lot of what you really need right now. We had the FLW tournament here recently. Jesse Wiggins won it, keeping it simple and just fishing behind docks with a spinning rod and a lightweight jig head, and just stayed more consistent than any of the other pros over the 6-day tournament. And he was throwing something just like that. And I throw it all the time on my guide trips. Fishing steep rocky banks, nothing special. The thing about that worm is you really have to pay attention to how it's falling, and your bites aren't going to be hard. They're not going to be, if you've got a square bill or something like that, they're gonna rock it. If you're throwing a buzzbait, which I've been throwing some buzzbaits lately, I love a good buzzbait bite. They're gonna knock it out of the water sometimes. They're gonna just, that's gonna be a really exciting bite. That's great for when they're active. But most of the time lately, they've just been picking it up off the bottom and moving it off their bed. They're not really hammering it. They're just picking it up off the tail and just slowly swimming it off. And you really got to be paying close attention. So, having a good fluorocarbon line has been really important. I use that Bass Pro Shops XL. I use a lot of the Berkeley 100% fluorocarbon line. That's been my favorite fluorocarbon for a long time now. It's great. And that really helps you to feel the bites. And not only when they first pick it up, sometimes they don't have it all the way. So, and there's been a lot of bluegills biting lately too. So you got to make sure that, you kind of distinguish the bluegill rat-a-tat-tat bite versus a bass bite. And a lot of your better bass, you just won't feel a bite at all. You'll just feel some weight and your line will be moving. So that's what you really want to pay attention to. There's been a few different baits I've been using. I just showed you the shaky head. This is one of my favorite baits from Tackle HD called the T-Crawl. As you see, it's got some big flapping claws on it. This has been a really good bait too. This has been getting some bigger bites for us. I'm fishing a lot of steeper banks lately, ledge banks. And I've been fishing behind the docks a fair amount. And there's something about these big flapping claws that are getting their attention as it's sinking. And a lot of my bites are gonna happen on that first fall. And that's been really fun. And that color in particular has been really good. That June bug color, the water clarity in general. We've had some dirty water the last little while. It's starting to clear, and that's a really good thing. There's some areas that are still still got a lot of stain, but for the most part, I mean, I was on the water yesterday down by the dam, and it has cleared up significantly in the last few days. And that's good for a variety of different things. I mean, the swim bait bite is getting better, and I've been catching them on a whole variety of swim baits. Big swim baits have been catching fish. Big glide baits have been catching fish, which is very exciting. Great way to go catch a big one this time of year. Medium-sized swim baits like the 4-inch and the 3-inch swimmers. These things have been great. I really fell in love with these things when it was Alabama rig, when we were throwing the Alabama rigs, and now I'm just throwing them as a single swim bait with just a simple jig head on there. And gosh, these things are catching a ton of fish, and they're easy to throw. I like to throw a plastic worm, but when I'm taking people out, a lot of times they've never thrown a plastic worm before in their life, and it's kind of hard to feel the bottom. You could just give them a swim bait, and they're catching just as many fish as the guys that have fished a lot of plastic worms over the years, and they're catching just as many fish. And believe it or not, they're actually catching some bigger fish with the swim bait sometimes. It's probably got to do with the fact that there's still a little bit of a shad spawn going on, and they're just not all the fish are spawning still. Some of them are getting done with spawning, and I like this time of year because, well, the fish have got other things on their mind, and they're not that interested in feeding a lot of times. Now they're going to be interested in feeding, which is a big deal. As we go through the last part of May and into June, June is my favorite month to fish Lake of the Ozarks. In fact, of all the other fishing guides and big tournament fishermen I know that live down here, June is pretty much our favorite month for all of us. I mean, we just look forward to it all year long. The boat traffic is going to be picking up. Lately it's been a ghost town out there. It's been very quiet for Lake of the Ozarks standards. A few boats here and there, but Memorial Day weekend is going to be coming up. Boat traffic is going to pick up. We keep thinking that the air temperatures are going to pick up, and it was pretty hot there for 1 week or so, but I'm still wearing a jacket today, and it was kind of cooler out there on the water today. So, it's going to happen. Summer's going to be here, and that's a good thing because these fish are going to stop worrying about the spawn, worrying about the babies, and they're just going to get out there and they're going to feed. And we won't have the big tournaments to mess things up, so that's going to be another good thing. So, swim baits, depending on kind of where you're at and how much experience you're at, if you're looking for the most bites, this is one of those things where you go down in size. You go through a little 3-inch swim bait even, and you'll catch bass. You might even catch some crappie, catch a variety. This would be a 4-inch swim bait's kind of what I would consider a medium-sized one. It's catching fish, and then your bigger ones are catching fish too. And obviously you're not going to get as many bites with the big 8-inch and 9-inch swim baits, but it's kind of fun to swing for the fences every now and then. It's the time of year where a lot of the big ones are still shallow. By and large, I haven't really been throwing a lot of the big 10-inch worms yet, or we got the big Megamite, which is, I throw a lot of the Helgramites, like this is the 5-inch size. That's been a good fish catching bait lately, and this is the 3-inch size. It doesn't show up on camera so much, but the 3-inch is good for your days that are really tough, really sunny, and just light winds, and the fish just aren't biting very good. And this has really been a workhorse for me. The 5-inch Helgramite I drop shot with it. I do just about all kinds of things with it. The tail is very thin compared to the head and first segment of the body, and then the tail's very thin. And this thing catches a lot of fish for me. The Megamite is the bigger size. Now that'll start catching fish once we get more into like mid-June, and the main lake point bite is really cranking. And there's some fish on the points right now, but they're shallow. They're not deep. They're, say, 2 feet to the shallowest, and out to about 12 feet. And at some point here pretty soon, once things warm up, I'll be very comfortable going out to 25 feet. And everybody should be if you're fishing Lake of the Ozarks. That's the time of year where the fish finders are very important. And not just, seeing the fish on your live scope, but just studying your maps, really studying your drop-offs. And we've had a lot of current going through the system for several weeks now. Truman Lake is about 10 feet high, and they just flush the water right on through the system, through Bagnell Dam. We've been running about 36 cubic feet a second. So that's quite a bit. And it's got some fish position on points for sure. So if you're a guy that doesn't like to fish around docks, there's a lot of options for you on the main lake. The main lake points, the main lake ledges are also catching fish really just as good as about anything. And you don't have to deal with nearly as many snags. Sometimes those snags can get a little annoying if you're not used to fishing around docks. But overall, guys, the fishing's been good. Finally, it's been a trying spring, and now we're getting a nice break. From the big tournaments. We won't have any more big tournaments until the fall, so that's a very good thing. We'll still have tournaments. There's probably 7-8 tournaments a week here, maybe more, but they're smaller tournaments. They're 40 boat tournaments or so, and 40 boat tournaments just don't nearly affect the fishing as much as those 200 boat tournaments that we have so much of the time in the spring and whatnot. So fishing is going to be good for a little while now that things have finally warmed up. Getting around that 70-degree water temperature is a big deal. So good luck fishing, guys. I do have a little bit of availability here the next little while. So if you're looking for a guide trip and maybe you had a pretty tough spring, this is a good time to get out in the water, get back on the fish, and let me put you on. My phone number is 573-434-2570. If you want to check me out on the web, it's fishinglakeoftheozarks.com. And, most of the time I'm doing bass fishing trips. I do some crappie trips, but, now that things are still kind of cool, I'll do crappie. But once things get really hot, I don't want to do the crappie trips then, but right now things are still cool. Until once things get close to 100 degrees, I don't want to do the crappie, but right now, crappie are biting just fine. Been throwing jigs and crankbaits for them. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for a guide trip, give me a call. Otherwise, just get out here and go and catch a bunch of fish. It's a great time to get a kid out there or a teenager out there. And Lake of the Ozarks is pretty trying most of the year, but right now is a great time. So just get out there, wet a line. It won't take you long to catch some fish. So good luck, everybody.
Now with your Truman Lake report, here's Dave McCormick.
Well, welcome back again. It's been another 2 weeks, and here we are at Truman Lake again. And yes, Truman Lake fishing is fantastic right now. We fished a tournament again this weekend. Funny that, I find myself in another tournament. Hey, if you want to come check that kind of stuff out, come check me out on YouTube. It's Fish30. Got 113 tournament videos right now. So lots of content, a lot of Truman Lake stuff. So come check me out, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help my channel grow. As for Truman Lake fishing, it is on fire. We at one point, I think we were almost 13 foot high, and the lake had fallen this week, maybe 2 feet, just about right, if you ask me. 10 foot high is just about right at Truman. And we've had some more rain, so I don't think it's going to change. They were letting the water out, so there was current in the lake. And so we caught a lot of numbers. I mean, I came home this weekend with my thumb all rough. So let's get right into it. I'll get right into the bug report. So there's no doubt that if you're around the bushes and they've got some green leaves on them, you need to be Texas rigging something. That's a 3/8 weight, 5/0 hook. This happens to be a brush hog. I'm not sure it really matters what the actual shape is. Use your favorite one. If you can pick a green pumpkin style color and get the tail of it dipped chartreuse, I really feel like it'll just use your favorite bug and it works. Dropping it in front of the bushes and even making casts parallel out in front of the bush line. Since the water is down to about 10 foot high, you could see the tops of the first row of bushes that were flooded, and that's important because we really think a lot of those fish hang up on that first row of bushes. That's probably where if the water's at normal pool, where they're going to spawn. But now the lake's really high and they travel up into the bushes, yes, but I'm just not sure they actually spawn. A lot of the fish don't show signs of spawning yet. It's almost over at the lake below us at Lake the Ozarks. So interesting stuff. They are starting to bite the topwater baits, the walking style baits. That's a 3-hook, super spook. Here's a dark colored buzzbait with a black blade that clacks. That's something I do like, a buzzbait that clacks, head knocker style. I'm gonna let a little secret out here too. I'll let the real secret out of what's coming. So some of these fish are gonna spawn, and that's up there in the bushes. And I tend to start throwing into the holes and the openings where it's clear, where I can get close to say a log or a bush, but yet not get it hung up, because this is obviously, and it's a kind of a late season jerkbait bite, and we twitch, pause, and let it float up to the surface. And sometimes when you snatch it real hard off the surface, it kind of makes a sound. I know some guys are gonna throw the new Berkeley Surge and do the same kind of thing with it, but that's an old Rapala wooden bait. If you get your hands on one of those, that's the real deal. Put it on some heavy lines so you don't lose it. And take a kid out fishing. It's really good fishing right now. I'm sure there's still some crappie going on too. So, might even try a frog. So, take a kid fishing, tie something cool on for him like a buzzbait or frog, and get around those green bushes, see what happens. Till next time, check me out on Fish 30 on YouTube. Take a kid fishing, it's important.
Matt Fielder joins us now with the latest at Tablerock Lake.
Hey guys, it's Matt Fielder with MJF Guide Service and Modern Outdoor Tackle. We're doing your early June fishing report for Tablerock Lake. So the water level's in that 920 range. That is normal summer pool for Tablerock. I don't know how much more they're going to draw it down, but 920 is the summer pool. So I think they're going to try to keep it around there. Technically, it's 915 is the normal pool right now, but I think they may try to keep it around that 920 mark, because that is summer pool for Tablerock. But for the early June fishing report, right now the bluegill are starting to spawn, and they are spawning. So there's a lot of good ways to target them and catch some really big bass doing that. One way I like to do that is throwing a whopper plopper. You can just burn down the bank with the whopper plopper. I personally like it on more chunky rock type of banks, little 45 or even a little bit steeper, or some that have some shelf rock. I like throwing a whopper plopper on that kind of stuff. You can catch them on gravel, but that's what I like to do. So that's where I go with the whopper plopper. Another good way to catch them, this early summer is a buzzbait. This is a Tackle HD Worldwide Buzzer. You just cover water, and you get some really big bites. If you've got some flooded bushes, works really good around there. If you like bluff tips, it works really good around bluff tips, or the same places that you're going to be throwing that whopper plopper, you can throw that buzz bait. It works behind docks, in docks, under docks. Throw it there, and you'll be surprised what you catch. Since it is bluegill spawn, a really cool bait that you can throw is a Megabass Dark Sleeper. You can parallel the bank, anywhere from 0 feet out to like 10, 15 feet, and the bluegill will be out there spawning. So this is a bluegill imitation style bait. This is a haze color, and really good bait, especially because it mimics those bluegill. There's a couple other baits on the market that do that. We've got some Agent E's or the Berkeley Gill. We carry those here in the store, and those are really good baits to throw this time of the year to target that bluegill spawn. But with it being summer, if you want to actually do something a little bit different, you can get off the shore and you can get out on points. Finally, it's coming to be that time. I'm seeing that right now. I can get out there with a 2.8 or 3.3 Kitech, or if you want to go bigger, you may get a few less bites, but you may get better quality bites going up. So this is just a Kitech. You can use a Tackle HD Swimmer. It's a really good bait. They tear up a lot less than the Kitech does, so that may be a good option for you. Another thing, offshore on those points, you can throw is a shaky head. This is a Tackle HD shaky head. This is an X-Zone, just floating worm that they have. And this is the time of year I actually like going to a plum. I do throw a lot of green pumpkins or a lot of natural colors, but during the summer, I really like throwing a plum. I don't know why. I just seem to get a lot more bites on a plum during the summer. So think about that when you're out there fishing. Another thing is it's football jig season. You can always catch them on a jig all year round, but especially during the summer, a football jig. This is a 3/4 ounce, so you can catch them out deep, throwing a 3/4 ounce football jig. Anywhere from, sometimes they'll be up in 10 foot, but a lot of times they'll get out 20, 30, sometimes 40 feet. So the deeper you go, sometimes you do need to upsize your jig as far as weight goes. And that's why I like throwing a lot of times a 3/4. If they're not biting it really good, but they'll still eat a jig, you got to throw this Pee Wee football jig or whatever your favorite finesse jig is. Mine just happens to be this Pee Wee football jig. They're really small profile. They're really easy to fish. You just slowly drag them. They catch a lot of fish. You can pair these jigs up. I prefer, a Rage Swimmer, or Tackle HD has like a speed crawl. You just pair those two up with your jig. With the little Pee Wee, you have to cut off a couple of rings. Same with the HD crawl. Just cut them down a little bit and then thread it on. With the full size jig, you don't need to cut it off. You can just full size it. And then the other thing I like doing during the summer, and it gets you a ton of bites, is throwing a drop shot. Drop shotting is huge for our area, especially on Tablerock. This is just a finesse slammer by X-Zone. And another cool bait that you can throw on that is the Tackle HD Leech. It's a really good bait on a drop shot. It just kind of like floats out there, and it's a really good bait to throw on a drop shot. There's a lot of colors available. But those are some really good ways to catch them in the month of June, especially early, because they'll be feeding up really heavy for the summer months, and their metabolism's high, and it's a really good time to catch a lot of bass. So until next week, we'll see you.
Trey Swindle, welcome to the Tackle HD podcast. It's an honor.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me on.
So I'm detecting right out of the gates an accent. I'm guessing that is not a New York accent that I'm detecting.
Absolutely not. You could probably I ain't even got to say it.
So where are you sitting right now?
I'm at my house. I've got a little bit of time off I'm fishing all 9 opens this year, so I've been running around like crazy, and I've actually got a little bit of time off. I'm home for 3 or 4 days, and then I got ABT, the Alabama Bass Trail at Wheeler Lake. So I'm actually home right now, but I leave early in the morning to head over to Wheeler.
Gotcha. And home for you right now is in Alabama, correct?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
About 30 minutes south of Guntersville. I'm right around Guntersville.
Okay. How far from the lake? Like 30 minutes from the lake? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
35 minutes to the lower end, yes, sir. Which is where I like to fish. So.
Gotcha. Would you consider Guntersville your home lake?
I would say so. When I grew up fishing, I grew up with a guy, a family friend, and he liked the Coosa River. That's all he liked to fish, and he didn't ever really fish the Tennessee River. But when I got my own boat and started learning fishing, I didn't know nothing about Guntersville. So for the past 4 years, I forced myself to go there, and I've absolutely fell in love with it. So I would consider that my home lake now.
Just out of curiosity, how old are you?
I'm 22 years old. I just turned 22 in March.
Gotcha. So when did you start fishing?
I started fishing. I fished some ponds when I was, 10 to 14 years old in there, but I never had anybody to take me out in a boat. My dad, Gerald's brother.
Uh-huh.
For those who don't know, my uncle is Gerald Swindle, and my dad was his brother, and he passed away when I was 8 years old. So I didn't have anybody to really take me fishing, and G was always on the road. So I fished ponds from when I was about 10 to 14, 15, and then I met that guy, a family friend that took me out, and I really didn't start fishing out of a boat until I was about 15, 16 years old. So that's kind of when I really just fell in love with it.
So 15, 16, you're in high school in Alabama, I presume. Looking back at your peer group, was fishing a big part of life for your high school crew?
It was. I kind of a bunch of my friends. Like I grew up, like I said, when my dad passed away, my mom raised me and my sister by herself for a couple of years before she got remarried. So I kind of went to video games for 2 or 3 years. So that's like all I did for a while. Finally, my stepdad, thank the Lord, he literally would lock me out of the house, and he's like, I don't care what you do outside. You can tear anything up you want, but you're not sitting on that video game. So from then on, my friend group kind of just completely changed, and all my friends in high school just loved the outdoors, and we were hunting and fishing, and just we did it my whole, from the time I was a freshman to a senior. That's all I really cared about was fishing.
Interesting. Any sports outside of fishing that you got involved with?
I played basketball from the time I was little bitty, knee high to a grasshopper till I was a senior in high school, and I loved it. But about my junior year in high school, I just kind of fell out of love with it. I mean, I still enjoyed it, but it just wasn't, nothing can compare to fishing for me. It's just my life.
So talk to me a little bit about the progression from, high school kid that likes to go out to the pond and fish with his buddies and occasionally jump on, somebody's boat, to where we are today. I mean, there's a lot that had to transpire.
It was, and I've been really blessed. I really have, just the people I've met along the lines, and like I said, I never really got to just be completely mentored by G from the time I was 15 to 17, 18, just because he's always so busy and he's always on the road. So my family friend, like I said, he started taking me in the boat just a little bit here and there, and I still fished ponds. Well, then after that, he needed a fishing partner, and he's like, if you want to fish, like the Alabama Bass Trail, some guys might be familiar with it. It's a big trail around here.
Mhm.
He was like you could be my partner in them. So we started fishing, the little evening tournaments, and then we kind of progressed to the Alabama Bass Trail. And then after that, I kind of got my own boat, and I went from there and started going on my own, a good bit. And then the day I graduated high school, just about, it was right around that time frame, Uncle G called me, and he said, hey, he said, we need to have a talk. He said, I got a question for you. He said, do you really love fishing? And I said, absolutely. He said, do you want to do this the rest of your life? And I said, absolutely. And he said, I'm going to give you one more chance. He said, do you want to do this the rest of your life? And I said, yes, sir. He said, you want to do it the easy way or the hard way? And he said, the easy way, you can go to college, and you can do, like you see tons of guys doing nowadays. They're going through college, going up through the ranks in college, which is an awesome deal. You can make the classic, do all that. He said, you can do that. And he said, it don't bother me either way. Or he said, you can jump straight into the Bassmaster Opens and probably get your teeth kicked in and learn the hard way. And I said, I'm all about the grind. I like it. So I said, I'm all for the hard way. So that's kind of where where it went. And I met some great people along the lines, to help me out with sponsorship wise. I actually met my title sponsor at an Open. So from then on, now I've been fishing one division of the Opens for about 3 years, and this year's the first year I fished all 9. So I'm really blessed. I've got the opportunity to do that this year.
In somebody in the situation you were, just young kid, probably, what were you, 19 when you started?
Uh-huh.
How difficult was it to find sponsorships? Because it's an expensive sport. I mean, everything from, obviously, boats are involved, boat gas, all the gear, and you need to have great gear to be out there and be competitive. How tough was that to find companies to say, sure, person we don't know, here, have all this stuff?
It was really tough, and that's what a lot of people don't realize is they'll look at my boat and they'll see sponsors, and everybody just thinks it's really easy, and it's really not, because us kids that are 18 to even now I'm 22 years old. I don't have a big resume. I've been blessed with a couple of decent finishes, but I don't have a Gerald Swindle or a Kevin Van Dam or a Mike Iaconelli resume. So companies aren't just going to fork out $20,000 to you. So I didn't have my first sponsorship I got. I met through a friend of mine, was the Direction TV, and that was the first sponsorship I had ever gotten. Before that, and that was when I was 20 years old, I believe. Before that, I worked all the time. I had just 2 or 3 different side things I would do to save up money, and I was blessed. My parents helped me. My stepdad hated to see me go without a boat, and he was not going to put up with it. And if it wasn't for him, I would not be where I was, because he bought me my first little boat. And but I got blessed with that, and then I worked my butt off and saved money, and I just, meeting the right people. That's all you got to do, is get out there and just find a way to get out there, whether it's cutting grass, doing whatever you can do. Once you get out there, if you fish enough, you'll meet the right people.
Networking, it's everything. How important for somebody, getting started in bass fishing tournaments, how important is the actual boat? And what about, give some tips if you could, like what people, it's like, yeah, you can get a lower end boat, but make sure that it's got this thing.
Absolutely. I don't think, the electronics nowadays is just going through the roof. Even from the time I started fishing, when I first got my boat, I thought it was the best thing in the whole wide world. And I had one little bitty graph on it. It was a Humminbird 898. And I'm going to be honest with you. I fished for 3 years, and I don't even know if I turned it on. I don't know how I didn't kill myself running around the lake, because I have no idea. But while my parents trusted me to go out there, I never know. But I'm here today, so that's all that matters. But the electronics is a big deal. And kids nowadays, which I'm a kid myself, but younger guys think you have to have that to catch fish, and you absolutely do not. You just don't. The way I learned to fish, I didn't have that. Even the guy I fished with, he had 2 decent graphs, but he never even put them on the boat, because we were beating the bank, going down the bank with a square bill and stuff. So you don't have to have the electronics. But what I do recommend is get if you're going to go fish the opens or a big series that goes to big lakes, safety's key, right? You want to try to get the biggest boat you can afford. Not that it's going to be a brand new boat, but you don't want anything less than 18 feet. But if you're going to go to Ontario, St. Lawrence River, you're going to need a bigger boat. You just are. That's just how it is, because if you get out there in a little boat, you can hurt yourself quick if you ain't careful. So that's one thing I would recommend is don't settle for an 18-foot boat with a bunch of graphs on it when you could get a 21-foot boat with just one graph with a map, because that'll be the better option in the end. It really will be.
Awesome advice. So you are obviously a bass fisherman, competitively. What else are you into fishing for?
I just fell in love with it. I everything about it, just being outdoors. And, like I said, my dad passed away when I was 8, and he was a heck of a fisherman. He fished with my Uncle G forever. They were team partners, and I'm kind of living his dream through me, if that makes any sense. So that's one of the main reasons I want to do it. It's not only to prove to myself I can do it, but to prove to him, like, you know what I mean? It's a cool deal. And that's one of the main reasons I'm doing it.
What is your personal best bass, and tournament or not, personal best bass?
My personal best, I did not have a scale with me. The biggest one I weighed was 811. It weighed 8.11 on my scale. But I caught one I believe was a good bit bigger than that. I don't think it was no 12-pounder. I think it was a little over 10. But I didn't have a scale, and it was one of them deals where I didn't want to put it in the live well and take it. I just didn't want to hurt the fish.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find anybody with a scale. I run around the creek at Gunnersville looking for somebody, and nobody had one. And I was like, I'm not going to hurt the fish. I just threw it back. But I got pictures of it. It was like 26, 27 inches long. And, it was just a big around as it was long. It was just unbelievable. I would say it was probably somewhere around the 10 mark.
I bet you remember what you caught it on.
Absolutely. I still got the bait hanging in my shop.
What is it?
It was a 3/4 ounce chatterbait. It was a homemade chatterbait that the guy I used to fish with made, and I told him it looked like it was just out there. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And he was like, I'm telling you, just throw it. So I did, and I caught that one, and I caught an 8-pounder my next cast.
That is fantastic. So speaking of bait and tackle, what are, your top 2 or 3 all time, the things that you will never go out there without any time
I,
of year?
I will never leave, and I figured this out. Fishing the opens, you go to some very versatile places. To qualify through the opens is a big deal because they go anywhere from the Red River in September when you're not fishing for 5 bites, you're fishing for 2 because that's all that lives there, and then you're going to go to Oneida. So what I've learned from the past 3 years is I'll never leave the house without my square bills, my Strike King 1.5s, Lucky Crafts, any kind of square bill. I like the Rick Clunn series, the Lucky Strike. Any square bill, I'll never leave home, no matter what time of the year it is. It is that a 1.5 square bill and my swim jig box. That's like the biggest deal for me. I'll swim a jig everywhere I go, and I'll throw a square bill everywhere I go. And then the past 2 years, I've really come to like a chatterbait. That's the most versatile bait I have in my boat.
What's some knowledge that sticks with you today that you gained from working at Gunnersville Tackle and Outdoors?
Just the main thing that did for me is just not just meeting people, just learning to connect with people, because basically my job there, I stocked shelves and then I just worked the floor. So I greeted people and I walked around and helped people and talked to them, and it really helped me in the aspect of just having a conversation, because as well as I do, younger people like me nowadays, the phones and technology, everybody's glued to it. I'm guilty of it myself. I was just telling my mom a minute ago, I sat on TikTok for like 2 hours today. I'm guilty of it. But, you just got to learn to sit it down and look somebody eye to eye and talk to them, because that's where your connections come from. So for me, that's the biggest thing I gained from working there. And I can't thank those guys enough for allowing me to work there when they did.
And being that you're, trying to make a living as a professional fisherman, and so much of that has to do with being able to cultivate, sponsors, that is such a personality is such a big part of it. I mean, if you can't, have a conversation, whether it be, while you're standing behind a vendor table at a fishing show, for a sponsor, or on video, if they're asking you to make product videos to show off, their newest bait, that is so valuable for you to be able to do that and just connect with people.
It is, absolutely. And other than that, the only thing that I've really learned over the past 3 years is just, I'm the most competitive person you'll meet. I hate losing. That is like, I just cannot stand getting beat. But, some things you just gotta take it like it is. I mean, fishing's the most losingest sport there is. And that's just, that's the most statement I've ever heard. The only consistent thing about fishing is change. That's it. And you're just going to get beat. I mean, there's one winner and there's 224 losers. So second place don't mean nothing to me. So, but from what I've learned by that, it's just, you can't ever have your butt on your shoulders, because you never know when you walk off that stage, if you weighed in one bass for 3 ounces, I don't even know if that wouldn't even be a keeper, but if you weighed in one fish for 3 ounces, you had 2 dead fish. You walk off the stage and there's this older gentleman standing there, and he wants to shake your hand and talk to you, and you just walk right by him because you're pissed because you didn't catch him. He could have been your title sponsor for next year. He could have owned a tackle company that he was going to send you, free baits or try to help you out. So the biggest thing for me is learning that no matter what happens, no matter how bad the day is, just put a smile on your face. I mean, you're alive. You woke up this morning. You're a whole lot better than most.
I think, the personality side of it is something that your uncle has absolutely mastered. I mean, it's something that's really made him a household name in the fishing world. And I'm sure that you've definitely picked up on that and seen that that's a trait that, you want to incorporate into your own professional life. What's some of the best advice that he's given to you over the years, as far as, being out there on the tournament circuit and just being a pro in this industry?
But basically, and that's what a lot of people get that confused. And Uncle G he's a different character. And what I mean by that is he is a different character on social media. I'm sure y'all seen videos, but what I mean by that is he does not give handouts. He's never had anything handed to him, and he does not give anything away. He won't let me go grab a crankbait without making me wash the boat, or like, he's just never handed me anything. And the only things he's actually taught me really just sat down and talked to me about is some of the things I just said. You know, never wear your butt on your shoulders. If you get beat, you get beat. Shake it off and go the next one. You know, and putting a smile on your face and just being yourself. You know, carrying on a conversation, shaking hands, yes sir, no ma'am. Just that kind of deal goes a long ways, and you know, that's just how he was raised, and that's kind of what he's passed on down to me. You know, the fishing side of it, he helps me here and there, but there's nothing that really stands out to me that's helped me more, you know, getting to the point where I'm at than just the conversation and teaching me the kind of background of how you meet people and just the way everything works. Because, you know, just a straight conversation, shaking a hand, looking them in the eyes, telling them yes sir, no ma'am, yes ma'am, whatever, it goes a long ways with people.
What's the biggest lesson that fishing has taught you in the last year?
Lord, that's a tough one. Because it teaches me many lessons. Oh Lord, I think the biggest lesson I've learned is to never give up. It's never over until it's over. Because like I said, I'm fishing all 9 opens this year, and in the Southern Opens we went to Kissimmee, Florida, to Toho, to the Kissimmee chain, and I'd never been there. Had a little bit of a good practice, I thought. I wasn't catching numbers, but long story short, the first day I checked in at 3:30, and at 3 o'clock I had one keeper in the boat, and I just stayed true to what I was doing, and I knew that's what I should have been doing, and I pulled up to one clump, and I caught like 12 pounds, just boom, 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 and I even culled once, and I run back and made it back in time. And then the same thing the second day, I weighed in at 540, and I did not have a limit in the box at 5, and I ended up catching 14 pounds and moving all the way up to like 21st place or 20th place or something like that. And the same thing at Cherokee, the second Southern Open, I had a bad day the first day, lost fish, and just made some stupid decisions. But I kept my head on straight. And the second day, I come back and I caught 16 pounds and jumped like 100 places, and I'm still sitting in like 20th in the points in the Southern. So those by itself it's just taught me, you know, it's not over. You know, God has a plan for you. If you don't have a keeper in the box at 4 o'clock, you just ain't meant to have a keeper in the box. Like, just keep your head on straight and keep fishing, and when it's your time, it's your time.
What are some of your short-term goals with this and long-term? Like, what's something that you would love to see yourself accomplish, you know, before the end of this year, and then something within the next 5?
So this year, I had a really good start to the Southerns. You know, I just told you Toho and Cherokee. We got one more left at Hartwell, and I was the past 3 years I've struggled. I've been on a learning curve, learning new lakes, and I've never been outside of Alabama, you know, before the past couple of years. So learning all these new lakes, I hadn't done the best. But this year, I've already kind of accomplished one goal, and I'm sitting in 20th in the points with one left in the Southerns. But the Northerns and Ross Barnett, the first Central, I kind of really struggled. So kind of a short-term goal for me is just to prove to myself I can fight back in those other 2 divisions. You know, before the last one at Hartwell, the last Southern, I really haven't shot to qualify. So between here and there, I really want to prove to myself like I can battle back. You know, the hopes of qualifying through those 2 divisions is slim to none, because I kind of bombed the first 2. But just to prove to myself like, hey, you can fight back, even if it's a 40th place finish, even if it's a 60th. Just prove to myself I can get there and really be mentally in it for the last Southern. And then, you know, 5 or 6 years down the road, I really hope to qualify, you know, qualify for the Elite Series. That's the main goal. That's what I want to do since I was, you know, 15, 16 years old. So surely to God, I could do it in 5 years. If I don't know if my mom can handle it. She's gonna have a stroke.
So when you are not, you know, you've got a couple of days off right now. I know it's a busy time of year for you, but, you know, when you've got those gaps of, you know, a couple weeks here and there where there are no tournaments, what are you doing? Is there anything else that you dabble in professionally, like for work or?
Not really. Like I said, my title sponsor for this year and going on into next year is North Alabama Mortgage, and I met the owner's name is Brian Hamaker, and I met him fishing the Open at Sam Rayburn, and he was my sponsor, and then now he's my title sponsor for this year and next year, and he also hired me full time to work from home for him. So I do all the kind of post closing stuff for their loans. It's the independent mortgage broker, and it's just him that owns it. So it allows me to kind of travel when I work from wherever I'm at. So even kind of when I'm home, I'm on the water every day. I fish every single day and I work at night. I don't really have to clock into my job either. As long as I get it done when they say it needs to be done, that's all that matters. So I fish all day and then I work 2 or 3 hours every night and get some rest and do it all over again.
That's a beautiful thing. It's allowing you to chase the dream, and that's what a good title sponsor will will provide you. Um, so I know, I mean, being, one of the younger guys, you have absolutely gotten on board with social media to, help further your reach, further your career. And I noticed that obviously you do have an Instagram and a Facebook, that there's some fantastic shots of you holding up just behemoth fish. But it looks like you are one of these guys who has really jumped all in with TikTok. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So that whole kind of deal was an accident. I was big against TikTok for some reason. I don't really know why. I've never been against anything social media, but when it first come out, I was just like, nah, I ain't making no TikToks, whatever. Like it's almost like Vine when I was in high school, a thing called Vine. So I ain't doing that. That's for kids, I'm over that. So finally I downloaded it, and then now it's like I made a couple videos and they didn't do real well. They got, 5 or 10,000 views, and then I made one that absolutely just blew up. Like it got 5.7 million views, I think, and like 300,000 or 400,000 likes. And then ever since then, like, gosh, I've grown a following on there. I think I got 25,000 followers, and just about every time I post a video, it gets between 10 and 30,000 views. So, which honestly is a blessing in disguise, because that's just a whole nother reach for younger guys that are looking for sponsorships. Because if you can say, hey, Tackle HD, I have 25,000 followers that watch every single one of my videos. They comment back. You can show them your feedback from all the comments. Like, it's just another reach for people to gain sponsorships with and kind of get your name out there. So I'm all for it. I was against it at first, but after I kind of got into it and it got going, it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
So I don't know if people can see on the screen here, but I got you pulled up. 24.1K for followers. I mean, just looking at your most recent 6 videos, 41,000 likes, 85,000 likes, 7,000 likes, 99,000 likes, 93,000, 20,000. It's incredible reach. And the little bit I know about TikTok is, so many of those people who are seeing that and liking your stuff and commenting are not people who are following you. That's this weird thing about the way TikTok works, is even though these people follow you, it is still showing it to new people all the time. So the 60,000 that like one of them might be completely unique from the 90,000 that like the other. And that's just mind-blowing to think about.
It is. It's crazy how it works. And I ain't going to lie, I've kind of gotten to a nerd about it. I've kind of slacked off. I've been so daggum busy. I think this is my first week I've had home. I hadn't slept in my own bed in like 4 weeks. I'm fishing all 9 opens, the ABT and the ABT 100. So I've been crazy busy. But for a while, I was really into TikToks during the off season and trying to, because, you can actually do the creator fund on TikTok and make a little bit of money here and there. I don't personally do it yet. I might in the future, but right now I just kind of post them for fun and to get reach. But I kind of got it down to a science on kind of how their algorithm works and how it gets more views and what works and what doesn't. And it's crazy how many views you can get if you can connect with just a couple different people.
And what I've seen of yours too, I mean, you're not out there doing the dances and all the silly stuff. You're just documenting your day. It's like, oh, we're taking a $60,000 bass boat through this little tunnel. Let's hope we make it. And you're just holding the phone up. Look at this. It's a tight squeeze. You're just documenting your fishing. It's stuff you're going to do anyway. You're just hitting record.
And that's what people who's, I've had a lot of people ask me, like, that I graduated high school with, that want to get into fishing or that are still in high school, ask me, and they always have some kind of excuse. There's no excuse. You got a phone. I know you got an iPhone. Everybody does, right? So you got an iPhone. My TikTok, it's not the biggest out there, but I got 25,000 followers, 24, and I do not have a camera. I do not have anything but my iPhone, and I'll video walking to the ramp, talking about something goofy, or boat flipping a 6-pounder on a spinning rod and break it in half. Just stupid stuff. Just anything I want to post, I just put it on there, and so there's no excuses. I mean, you can do that. That's one thing I like about TikTok too, is not only for fishing, but for musicians and stuff. Like, you see people that would have never been anything, like they're just blowing up now because of, another form of a way to get views and get your name out there. And it's an awesome deal. I've enjoyed watching people grow on there.
Well, and going back to what I was saying about it's constantly showing you to new people who don't follow you. You have 24,000 followers. 2 videos ago, it had 85,000 likes. You had 93,000 likes, 99,000 likes. Yet you only have 24,000 followers. So it's just like when TikTok sees, picks up on what you're doing and likes it and decides to push your content, the sky's the limit.
Oh, it is. And like I said, it takes a little bit of study, and all it does is a little bit of time, though. Like, I'm not saying that I put 8 hours a day into TikTok. I just sit there and kind of scroll through and look at what other people are doing, and it's really not that hard if you sit down and just do a little bit of time. You get the algorithm down of what time you need to post it, and one thing I've noticed is you gotta find content that connects with other people, whether it makes them laugh, smile, cry, or just, could want to kill you too. If you piss people off, it'll get views. It might not be good views, but like I said, it's a really good way for young anglers and just young people that have awesome talents to get on there and show people what they can do. It's an awesome deal. Once you get it going, like you said, the sky's the limit. You could have 5 million views or 5 million likes. You just never know.
So obviously, for anybody young or old trying to get into this and make a name for themselves in fishing or with any sport, music or whatever, master social media, figure it out, because that is how you're going to grow. And that's a way for you to do it on your own. You don't need an agent, a manager, a booking it. You don't need any of that stuff anymore. It's all right here. You just got to figure out, how to play the game. What other advice would you give to, somebody who was where you were maybe, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, junior, senior in high school, maybe even in college right now, thinking, I think I might want to take a shot at fishing as a profession. What would you tell them?
One of the main things I've seen kids do, and I've seen it. I've seen guys that have done it and stepped into the opens, and they just can't compete. And I'm not trying to claim that I can. I trust me. I've got my teeth kicked in. I'll be the first to tell you. But one thing I've noticed about a lot of high school kids and some even college kids now is help is everything. Getting waypoints, and it's not like this. That's the biggest false information. People say that you got to get help to catch them. Like, go out there and put the trolling motor down and fish. You don't practice by calling everybody that lives around there, or messaging people or getting waypoints. Like, just go out there and fish, because I promise you, if you go out there and you just put the trolling motor down and you learn and you get your teeth kicked in, just without, like I said, because if you get help everywhere you go, you might catch them. But when you get to the opens or when you get to the Elite Series and you can't get help, when it's off limits to you, you're going to be down there where the printer runs out of ink. You're going to be down there where nobody looks at, because you've been so used to getting help everywhere you went. So the best advice I could give is just go fishing every day you can and learn something every time you go. If it's a new knot, if you go out there and don't get a bite, you ain't had a bite in 6 hours, sit down and learn to tie a new knot. Just go home and learn. Go out there and learn something every day you can, and don't base your practice off of anybody else, and don't base your practice off of getting help. So go out there and put your head down and fish and do what you do, and don't listen to Billy Bob at the boat ramp saying he caught 47 on a shaky head off of a rocky point. If you want to go throw a square bill, go throw a square bill. And if you learn the hard way like that, you'll take some butt whoopings, but in the end, it'll work out for you.
Do you ever, when you're not, actively in a tournament, do you force yourself to use baits that you're just not very well versed in?
I do, and that's kind of how I learned to fish, offshore, like the TVA Tennessee River kind of shell bars and river ledges. I had never done it before, and I never even been with anybody at that point in time. G hadn't took me or anything, so I literally took every rod out of my boat and every box of tackle out of my boat. Didn't have nothing in it. I had one Humminbird Helix 10, a Gen 1 or a Gen 2, and I went to Gunnersville and I just forced myself. I took everything out because I know I'm so ADHD. I'll get out there running in circles trying to find a square bill to throw or steal the old guy's rod off the dock to try to fish with it. So I just took everything out, put my head down, and I just idled, and that's how I learned to deep fish. And like I said, it'd have been very easy for me to call G and say, hey, how do I deep fish, and him come out there and show me a school. But would I really have learned anything that way? I wouldn't have. The way I learned to do it, I know everything about it. I know the ins and outs. I mean, I still don't know everything, but I'm still learning. But I just kind of know the ins and outs of why they set up there instead of just they're there. I kind of understand it better knowing that I learned it myself instead of getting him to help me or whatever.
Before I let you go, I know you said you were a bank fisherman back in your early years, and that's primarily what I do. And I know there's some people watching who also, are in that boat, that we primarily fish from the bank, just due to, where we live, that, access to water. What's something what's a piece of advice you can give to the bank fishermen here in the Midwest that could maybe get them a few more bites this year?
I would say, and like I said, I don't spend a lot of time out there, but I would say just kind of from around here, sometimes you got to slow down because, you're on the bank. You can't troll out there, on the end of the grass flat where the bass boats are or whatever. You can't troll out there where nobody's fishing. So slow down and just fish as slow as you possibly can, because there's going to be people fly down the bank like me with a square bill in a boat, just flying down through there, not knowing what he's doing. And you can sit right there with a shaky head or a jig or something kind of slow Carolina rig and just pick the area apart, because you're not going to have much to work with bank fishing. So you're going to have to pick every single aspect of the bank apart. Rather that's throw a moving bait and then slow down, but don't just go out there with one bait and, do it that way. You need to have multiple baits so you can kind of see and cover from from where you're standing on the rock to 20 feet out there. You can throw a 3/4 ounce chatterbait off the bank, off the ledge, and drag it up to you. So you want to kind of get every aspect of it, and I think you learn more that way, and I think you'll see that you get more bites and catch more fish that way.
Well, Trey, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you've got an early start tomorrow morning off to your next tournament. It's been it's been really fun talking with you, and inspiring to follow your journey online. Do you want to let everybody know where they can best keep up with you and follow along with you online?
Yes, sir. On Instagram, it's just at Trey Swindle Fishing, and that's what it is on TikTok too. It's just at Trey Swindle Fishing, and on Facebook, I have a personal page and then I have a fishing page, but both of them are just Trey Swindle or Trey Swindle Fishing. My personal page is where I post the most, but I've kind of started a fishing page too, so you can get on there. It's either Trey Swindle or Trey Swindle Fishing.
All right, Trey. Well, hey, man, thank you. This has been the Tackle HD podcast. As you can see behind me, I've got some beautiful displays of baits. These are currently located in 120 Walmart locations in mid-Missouri, southern Missouri, down through Arkansas. We've got Hellgramites. We've got 5-inch version and a 3.5-inch version, which we call our Nedmite. And then we've also got these fantastic high-def craws, 4-packs, available in Walmart. So, of course, at tacklehd.com, the website you see right down below there. We'll get some baits to you, and hopefully it'll help you win that next tournament, buddy.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it.